Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Order. I'm Templar, and if you are just new here, welcome to The Order. Now, I got a comment about, about the type of, thing covering history, and I thought to myself, this one I've never done before, but I will get a shot at it. And apparently, the comment actually asked of what did Swiss soldiers actually use in hand cannons, like such as what did they use with their gunpowder, and including what did they use for firing. Now, I thought to myself, well, I've never done a video on the medieval hand cannon, so I thought to myself, well, and I wrote back to him, informing him that I will actually talk about this. Now, in the process, he actually asked me, what did they use in gunpowder? Well, black powder is an extremely flammable substance, and unfortunately due to YouTube, it's kind of hard for me to explain everything. But I can only explain slight things. How so? Well, it's kind of like this. Salt, saltpeter, and such that they technically used, and sometimes even charcoal, or so I am informed. But in truth, there is also another form in history that they were also stated to have even used a type of substance known as sulfur. Now, what's sulfur, y'all might ask? Well, how should I put this? Have y'all ever gone to the bathroom recently? Exactly my point. Sulfur is technically also in our body system, and the thing is, that's technically how they mostly got it. Either from their feces or from their number ones. Yeah, we see why this doesn't end well. And in the process, it technically stated that most of the time the only way they made the sulfur was by taking their piss or their feces and pretty much mixing them together and such. Which, yeah, this is probably something I don't like to touch. Reason being, I never technically done this myself, but I have seen some of my old reenactment buddies do this in the reenactment field, teaching kids on how they made it back then. And the thing is, they even used, their own piss, yes. And the thing is, it always had to come from a male. And the thing is, the sulfur was probably out for about was probably outside for about a week or so. And the messed up thing is, the only way to make this very strong was to drink, liquor, wine, ale, anything that has alcohol in it. The stronger the alcohol, the more, dangerous the sulfur would be in historical statement points. Now, though, that's the thing. It's actually even stated at the Siege of Malta that this would have been used, mainly to make your own gunpowder. Now, don't go start asking me of how the rest of the stuff. I'm not gonna talk about it. It's very weird, and I'm not gonna. Now, how were medieval hand cannons used? Now, this is kind of the biggest point in history. Now, and what was their ammunition also? Now, that I have to explain to y'all. Medieval hand cannon ammo was very different compared to our modern day firearms. Now, when we think of firearms, we normally think of bullets, such as cartridges that are fired from a 50 cal or from an M16 or AK or whatever. But in truth, we gotta go way back. And no, I'm not talking American Revolution. I'm talking way back to the very beginning of hand cannons. And what they fired wasn't a regular bullet. What they did fire wasn't lead. They didn't fire a pebble. They didn't fire a rock. They did fire, though, what would they fire? Well, think about it. What was technically used to them so much that they actually kept using it? In fact, what was the type of ammunition that they were normally used to firing? Pretty much as a missile weapon. That's right. A freaking arrow. Or, in this case, a cannon dart. I don't know why it was called that. You get the point. Now, it was also stated that the medieval hand cannon was extremely dangerous. And the thing is, it was because of that metal war dart. Now, it was technically just a crossbow bolt with just plunged into the, hand cannon. But it was technically labeled as a dart for the hand cannoneers. And the hand cannoneers loved this thing because it pierced through the armor. Now, why did they get rid of it? Well, pretty much manufacturing cost, it was technically dead weight, the weight of it itself, and pretty much also the fact it's kind of hard to reuse it. You can reuse it. Problem is, it's kind of hard too, because in the process, it was even stated that the thing went through the male armor and back out. But what about the plate armor? Now, that's actually a good question, but it's stated it might have only gone probably a third of the way due to the plate. Now, that's why the articulated plate armor is pretty much your best type of armor you could probably use in a medieval combat fighting. But now, let's get back to the evolution, shall we? Now, the history about the medieval war dart in the hand cannon is extremely dangerous. But this is actually only one of the most dangerous parts about it. In fact, its original backtrace actually comes from during the time of the Mongolian Empire. Now, it is stated because of gunpowder. We don't know how. It's kind of weird of how we got gunpowder from China to Europe. Some say it was because of the Mongols. Some say it was because of this. Yada yada yada. We don't really know. But the thing is, the medieval hand cannon in China was made not out of metal and wood, but out of bamboo. Now, I can already technically that's kind of bamboo is technically a form of wood. I want to say yes, but I don't want to actually get any critics going after me. Anyways, they did use, crossbow bolts in the hand cannon. However, the bamboo gun was probably the dumbest idea you could probably do. Why? These are hollowed out tubes of bamboo. And in the process, they are technically held back together with the string. No metal reinforcement whatsoever. And it's stated that every time if one of these blew up, this thing would splinter out every which way. So, yeah. But it was until we get to the Ming Dynasty, however, that the Chinese invented a new type of gun. This was a triple barrel firearm. In fact, it actually can be seen in the Deadliest Warrior series. If I remember correctly, it's I want to say second, but as well I want to say, no, it was the second, yeah. In which they had the Ming warrior go against the musketeer. Well, I'm not going to be a spoil sport for you of who won and who lost. But as well, the medieval hand cannon of the Ming Dynasty, the triple barrel design was impressive at the time. And in fact, reason why? You fire one bullet, you fire one barrel, twist it, fire the other barrel, fire the other barrel. Now, this is the thing though. They actually switched it up later on in life from regular bolts to now a regular bullet, or a small lead bullet. But the time back then, it was technically the small round balls that were pretty much still dangerous. And if you got shot by one, it's technically labeled you're gonna die. So, how dangerous were those in history? Well, it's stated that due to the factor of warfare and due to the fact the Mongolians hardly wore any type of armor that was metal, you can see what happens there. Now, the Ming warriors' rotating design was impressive. However, by the time that gun was out, it technically was a little late for the Europeans. Why? Because Europeans had skyrocketed a new form of weaponry. But I'll get to that very soon in the video. Now, let's go to the first hand cannon in Europe. So what was it? Well, in truth, just like the culture of the Chinese, it was actually not like what you might expect. It wasn't a portable gun. It was a very large hand cannon. What do you mean? What I hear already. What do you mean by that? It was a crew-served hand cannon. Now, it was light enough, but yet, in the process, it was so big you couldn't pretty much technically carry it from one end of the battlefield to the other without another help. I'm sorry, I can't stop myself from laughing. Now, the thing was so large, in fact, it was actually stated that it was labeled as, technically not labeled as a hand cannon. It was technically a tri-cannon, as some people call it. I don't know why. I'm not even going to poke at that for a 1,000-foot pole. But it is stated that there would be 2 to 3 men firing this type of gun. In other words, a crew-served hand cannon. Now, the beautiful part about this gun is its beautiful type version. Now, it originally did fire a crossbow bolts as well. Problem is, these were a big problem, and they kind of started getting rid of them later on down the line, mainly because of cavalry. Why? Because the factual reason at a battle known as Sarkarito, or Sarkantor, I can't remember, but it's during the 100 Years' War, and this type of event in history was technically labeled as a new era in history, and by this point in time they had new lighter hand cannons. Some of them having war spikes on the bottom. Now, why war spikes? War spikes are extremely dangerous, and you don't want to get hit by one. Now, how did hand cannoneers use these type of weapons? Well, they still used the old-fashioned, dart in the barrel type thing. But the thing is, why did they get rid of it? Well, that's actually quite easy to answer. They were starting to run out of ammo. So, what do you do when you run out of ammo? Run! Get the hell out of there! Well, for the hand cannoneers, this was technically a do-or-die situation. And the thing is, they could stay and fight and get a lot more money, or just be slaughtered if they were to fall back. So what did they do? They actually took rocks. Why rocks? Well, it's actually stated that if they take, small little, rocks and actually place them inside the barrel, they found out that it could fire and, kill a cavalry officer. Now the thing is, though, this technically didn't mostly kill him at the time, but what it did do was terrify the living hell out of the horses. In fact, that's the thing. Horses were so scared they actually were stated to have run away, leaving their own knights behind. Yeah, that part in history we gotta actually look a little more up. Now, the medieval hand cannon had a beautiful design to it. And the thing is, the medieval hand cannon, the reason behind it was extremely cool. Why? Well, these images as I'm showing you right now actually do give a little bit more of a historical term to it. Now, there is a weird one that I really don't want to actually hold, which would be known as the Sturterat, or the Stick Brother. You don't want to know how I got that name, trust me. In truth, this little thing is technically a weird design tube, which looks like a gourd. In the process, the bottom end is technically a big giant hollow tube filled with gunpowder. Now, this type of little design was technically kicked out due to the fact it was kind of terrifying. You know, in truth though, when these little small hand cannons did fire these guns, these things were extremely dangerous. So, how did medieval hand cannoneers fire them? Well, in truth, what they didn't do with the early design for them was, we can actually just use, a lit fuse cord. And no, I'm not talking like something you see on dynamite or fireworks. I'm talking about, a very strange type of, lit fuse on a burning cord. In fact, these were nicknamed cord matches, or just a match cord. In truth, though, these were only held in the hand, and in doing so, it's like trying to technically fire a big giant cannon in the hand, meaning hand cannon. Now, though, the gourd design was kind of kicked out for a massive reason, mainly because it blew up most of the time. And the second reason, the kick. Why the kick? Well, it's kind of like this. Which one of y'all want to fire a 50 caliber bullet standing up? Exactly. You don't want to actually do that. Even though Demolition Ranch probably already does that already. Anyways. Now, medieval hand cannoneers did actually use medieval type shields in the early versions of the history books. Why shields? Well, it's kind of like this. They weren't meant to stop other bullets, they were meant to stop crossbows. And another thing, they were even also meant to stop the full force of the hand cannon. Why? Well, it's kind of like this. The medieval hand cannon had this type of hook-shaped type of, hook, known as, pretty much the, I guess you might call it, pretty much as a war spike. Now, the war spike is extremely dangerous. Why? Well, it's technically not just used as a war spike, mainly it's also originally used for your shield. Meaning, I just put it behind, say, my heater, I have my heater shield on me. I have my heater shield on my left side. I have it not strapped to my arm, but around my shoulder. Now, what I do is, I'd take my right arm and I'd take my left arm actually instead of my right because I'm right-handed. So in doing so, I need my right arm to, if I'm going to use this type of design, I need to use my writing hand to fire it. Now, if I didn't have the shield, then I would pretty much not need the hand. I would technically need the hand cannon in my right arm. But if I have the shield on me, then I need it in my left. So in doing so, that way I have my hand free for the paracord. And in doing so, it lights while I'm holding it. In fact, there are even several designs that actually show historical type soldiers actually using the hand cannon in this type of fashion, as y'all see in this image. But the thing is, the hand cannon was extremely dangerous. Now, the weirdest type of hand cannon I pretty much have actually ever looked at would probably be this weird one known as the puller cannon. The puller cannon is a weird design, and the weird thing about it is, I hear you already, Timbar, why is this gun weird? Well, how about this? It's length. Why it's length? It's kind of like this. The length was so long, a person can't reach the fuse for the hand cannon. In other words, you have to try and think of another way. In fact, they actually had pole designs that were meant to hold the match in place, and you fired it. Now, though, later on the line, this later became the design for a matchlock. However, early matchlock designs were very, very terrible. Why? Well, take a look at this image. As you all can see, this actually has more of a weight bearing down. In other words, if I put a match in it, it would just keep going down no matter what I do. I can't technically hold it forever. The thing is, this thing was extremely dangerous. This is why the gun was pretty much a big pain in the early eras for a matchlock design. And alright, but Templar matchlock isn't a hand cannon. Well, these early ones were. Now, let's also get into the place of history. Now, how many hand cannons were there in history? Well, we technically got around probably about, I want to say, in Europe, it would probably be around a good 7 maybe. Some say 5. I don't know. It's depending on the time and era. Now, what did some hand cannons really look like? Well, it is stated though in the historical aspects of the battles, most of the time the hand cannons that were mostly used were a very easy to manufacture design. Now, many times over, they did actually combine regular weapons with the hand cannon. And here you go already. Templar, what did they combine? Well, they combined some weird ones. The weirdest one would probably have to be, my favorite actually, being a Warhammer hand cannon. I hear you already. Templar, a medieval Warhammer hand cannon? That doesn't make any sense. How is that even possible? Well, in truth, this type of hand cannon was extremely dangerous, and the most terrifying part about it was not that the fact that you're gonna get shot by it, but because of the fact that you don't even know that there might be still a round inside the hammerhead. And the thing is, these things were extremely dangerous. In fact, you can actually just whack at somebody and kill them. Now, though there were other designs such as the pitchfork hand cannon, I don't know how that came to be, but there's also the spear hand cannon, the halberd hand cannon. There are some weird hand cannons down the line in history that don't make any sense, but were combined together. And most of these came out during the time and period of the Renaissance. And in fact, if any of y'all have ever played Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, for example, the one that came after number 2, you get the point of it being pretty much the type of sequel to the sequel of Ezio Auditore. And as we see that opening scene, that that first battle scene, when we see the Roman military kind of coming in, we technically, well, the papal military coming in, we actually see one of the bad guys using a type of combined weapon, such as being a hand cannon of its early design. This hand cannon was a mace/hand cannon. Now, it was a wheel-lock design, but these type of guns were still extremely dangerous on the battlefield. Now, when did the original hand cannons end, and when did the matchlocks begin? It's stated that they sometimes began, it technically ended somewhere around, said, the 15 to 1500s, some say. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's technically stated that it kind of makes sense, because by the time we reach the 1500s, the last of the hand cannons end and the matchlocks start to evolve. So the hand cannoneers now become musketeers. Gets the name. Now, the only dangerous part about this in history books is that the medieval hand cannon was extremely dangerous. Now, I have seen some idiots actually try and firing the hand cannon like they would a real gun. In other words, they would hold it up on their shoulder, which, bad move. You don't want to do that. Why? This thing technically has the same firepower as a 50 cal bullet. And the thing is, that one of the most favorite design that I love, the one with that, well, war spike. Here's the thing. That was originally meant to put your hand on. Why? Well, it's kind of like this. I can put my hand on this, and in the process, I can tuck it underneath my armpit and fire it with my other arm. Easily and safely. Now, technically though, you gotta admit, that's extremely brilliant. But the thing is, that design was actually 1 in a million, and many people love that design. And the thing is, reason why, is because of its beautiful version. In fact, it's stated that during a time of mercenary matchlocks, hand cannoneers, they would actually stated to have actually used wagons. Why wagons? Well, it's kind of like this. Easy way to protect themselves, other than using a shield. So in doing so, they would hide behind these hand cannons. They would use their hand cannons, and as well, while hiding behind the wagons. In fact, these later wagon designs were manufactured mainly for crossbowmen or bowmen, but originally, later on, it was mainly famous by the hand cannoneers. Reason being, you can actually just walk up on one side and fire down from it into the, well, little hand box area. Now, the hand cannon is extremely dangerous, and this is why, because I can actually just put it over the edge, fire, get back behind, and as well, the hook is still on the wall. That means I have an easy way to fire back at them. Now as well, there are even pillared walls that they even manufactured these for, and hand cannons were extremely devastating. Now, hand cannons were extremely dangerous, but the thing is, there are different design models of history that hand cannons looked like. Now, the last hand cannon that was technically stated to have ever been manufactured was nicknamed the Hulker, or Hulker, you get my point. Anyways, this type of design model was actually beautiful, and the reason being to it was that it was a new model design. However, this was during a time when Europe was starting to go into the matchlock. And this was a triple barrel design matchlock, or hand cannon. And these earlier designs were later on gotten rid of. So yeah, sorry about that for any hand cannon lovers. I'm a hand cannon lover too. I love the old design. They are beautiful. Problem is, most of the time they're hard to find nowadays. You have to remake them, which is kind of a disappointment. Now, there are many designs, as I stated, but the most famous ones of them all would always be the hook, the one with the war spike, of which I love. Another reason. Also, you can actually dismount. You can kill a guy. There is also the most famous, also the Halternbrat, which is technically just a stick on a tube, of which was sort of famous. But the most famous one that's always famous would actually be the one with the war spike. And the thing is, these guns were extremely dangerous. And in fact, new type of forms of fire, tactics were used with these guns. How so? Well, it's kind of like this. Who wants to run into a boatload of pikes wielding hand cannons? You got my point. Anyways, guys, this has been Templar. Hopefully you found this video helpful on history. And if you all want me to cover anything else in the history books, let me know down in the comments below. Also, like and subscribe. Check out our Facebook, so that way you all can understand more about the history of the hand cannon, including other videos. As well, y'all, I will be covering more things in history books. Let me know down in the comments below if you all want me to talk about it very soon. Anyways, guys, this has been Templar. Have a great day.